Captain's Log, Episode 44. This week's episode of the Beer Vengers podcast is sponsored by Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. Check out their new lunch specials and happy hours every Tuesday through Friday. Enjoy the eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, home bar to yours truly, Captain Porter Brown Stout. This week, Beer Wonder and the Captain catch up and reminisce about our various beer ventures, enjoy some new pours, and generally ponder the rules and ramifications of following the Beer Vengers' golden rule. Spoiler alert, it's in this week's title. Remember to like, star, and subscribe us whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeervengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 44, Don't Be a White Boy Summer Dick.
Well, we're the beer Vengers, beer Vengers, beer Vengers.
We're the Beer Vengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brown Stout.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the County of Kings, it is I, the Beer Wonder!
And we are the Beer Vengers. Yeah, I like how that one landed. That's right, we're the Beer Vengers. You're the Beer Vengers in here, out there, all around the world, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea. I don't know if anyone's listening to us while they're at sea. Yesterday we had this weird, massive download that all came from, or upload from Parts Unknown, my favorite location. So it could have been on a ship.
Be a boat. It could be a boat.
Never can
Although,
tell.
I still argue it's the aliens.
Yeah. I mean, there could have been aliens on a boat.
Yes, on a space boat.
Yes, a space boat or a boat a space boat that doubles as a conventional boat, because the alien technology is
natural,
off the charts.
Yeah, of course.
Just like the location of them. Welcome to the show, everyone. I hope you haven't missed us too much the last few weeks. We're happy to be back here again to be sharing our. So yes, I guess we would call this another day drinking with Captain and Beer Wonder. Just the two of us, and we have some wonderful beers and lots of great things to talk about. So before we do anything, let's get to the pours. All right, Beer Wonder?
I mean, I'm parched, absolutely parched.
And I was going to say, since you let me go first last time, I think it would only be polite for you to go first this time.
Well, how kind of you. Well, I am pleased again to be bringing us a
sponsored pour.
Sponsored pour from Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars at 35-11 Ditmars in Astoria, Queens.
Why, only the finest in beer coming from Astoria. Absolutely.
Of course.
And in fact, today, in honor of them, I do have my lovely Astoria Beer and Cheese glassware.
Oh, yes, the one you acquired at the anniversary party.
Exactly. And it feels appropriate because the beer I am drinking today is not a traditional Beer Wonder beer. Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
This would definitely be more of a Captain beer. In fact, it is a beer that the Captain has had in my presence before. And I am very excited to enjoy it a bit more for myself. It is the Hey Hey from our friends at Evil Twin Brewing, collaborating with their friends at Three Chiefs Handcrafted Ales out of Los Angeles. So I'm going to call this one, with permission, a bi-coastal beer.
I think that fits. Yeah, absolutely.
That seem right? Awesome. Well, I remember tasting a little bit of yours, and I'm excited to get a little bit more for myself. So let's crack this bad boy open.
Very fresh crack.
I don't know if you could hear that. That was very loud.
Oh, I could hear it. Yeah, no, trust me.
All right, well, let's take a look at this one. See, it's like a chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing looks like a chocolate cake, from the base of it to the very tight bubbles up at the top. They're actually, the head is dissipating pretty quickly because it's a slightly larger bubble. but I can smell everything. It's floral. It's got some of that plum action. It's got some coffee, chocolate, vanilla already happening. It's everything I remember and excited to get to enjoy myself.
Oh, you're making
So-
me want to, as soon as this podcast is over, walk right over and grab some of that. Because it's a really good beer.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
my
yeah.
beer also happens to be
Sponsored pour.
from Astoria
What?
Beer and Cheese Ditmars. Yes, it's also a sponsored pour. Now, we've talked before. I don't know if how open we've been about this. How much we show you behind the curtain, how the sausage is made here.
Yes.
Sometimes we always try and have good beers on the show. Sometimes we do give precedent to silly names or concepts. I think we all remember my Big Red Cock.
Yes, and
Well,
unicorn
which
farts.
is a beer from yes, and unicorn farts, absolutely. So we're suckers for that sort of thing. So in that spirit, I couldn't resist this new beer. Because you know how we've been talking about like the hot girl summer, the hot vac summer, all the
Yeah.
different
Oh,
things people were trying to do this. Well, this is the white boy summer from Greenpoint.
Oh my goodness! Oh, and it's is that Brett on the front of it? Or
That
Dear
is Brett.
Kavanaugh?
That is Brett. And someone else. I didn't realize this because I'm too old. But they're all these famous white boy douchebags on the bodies of Pokemons.
Oh, gotta catch them
So
all.
yeah, so if you see that, like, yeah, Brett there,
Uh-huh.
he's on like some kind of a dragony thing.
Oh my goodness.
And there's Matt Gates over there.
Oh,
And I think Mitch McConnell's up in one of the
yeah.
corners over here. And there's
I
Ted
see.
Cruz.
Ted Cruz, everyone's
Yeah.
favorite white boy. Mhm.
So this,
Wow.
I had to bring this one for the can art alone.
Well,
But this is
excellent.
a double dry hopped double IPA.
Oh wow! Oh god, that is some basic white boy action there. And I know that Brett Kavanaugh likes beer. We'll have to see if he might enjoy this one.
Maybe that's why he was give the center position.
Probably. And that's a beautiful fresh crack right there. I love it. All right. And it's an IPA into the Astoria Beer and Cheese glass. Ooh, this one's pouring pretty smooth. It looks like it's fairly clear. I mean, the carbonation is pretty intense. I'm seeing a lot of bubble action, but it does look fairly filtered. Is that right?
I don't know.
Or
It
is it
looks
still
kind of. You're right. It does look that way on camera, but
Yeah.
I can't see through it.
Oh wow, okay, nice hazy, and you've got good head retention there, so there's going to be
Yeah.
certainly like a protein quality to it. But yeah, it looks it's a very good looking situation right here.
Right.
So well, hopefully it does not turn you into a douchebag white boy just by drinking it, but at least we can,
I'll have to do a cleanse afterwards if it haven't. All right. Well, cheers,
cheers.
slancha, etc. Oh, that's very delicious.
Oh,
Really smooth. Got that nice double sweetness going on there.
mhm.
Smooth
See,
finish.
Captain, I distinctly remember you drinking this one, the one that I've got, the Hey Hey.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, this is not a beer wonder kind of beer, but it really, I mean, it's basically, it's a pastry stout. It's clocking in at a lovely 12%. It's got a really good vanilla and coconut quality to it. The coconut's not super intense, definitely cacao nibs and chocolate. But the thing that they do is they put in a vanilla salt in this one. I don't know if you recall that.
It's been a while since I had it, so yeah. I didn't.
So there is a distinctly salty undertone that comes out of it. And
Okay.
so for me, it's got a lot of that like salted chocolate chip cookie. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where you like
Yeah.
put salt on the chocolate chip cookie. It's kind of like they did that to my beer. And it's just so good. It's for of course, it's a pastry stout, it's an imperial, there's a lot happening here, but it is decidedly the kind of thing that has that refreshing quality because of the salt that makes it, and it's not super thick. It does kind of feel like a summertime stout to me, which seems only appropriate, right?
A summertime stout, but remind me again what the ABV on that one is.
Oh, 12. So you're going to get
Okay.
real trashed at the beach, but
yeah.
at least it'll be kind of refreshing.
Oh no! I for some reason I just found out the little. I have to read the writing on the can.
Oh,
for
please
this
do.
one.
Yes, very important.
You going to Don's pool party later? Anyone is going to be there. If you don't show, I'm afraid he might get the wrong idea. Loyalty is everything with this guy. Now go in there and introduce yourself. We've got a primary to win. That's the writing on the White Boy Summer beer. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And who is this
Yeah.
again? This is Greenpoint, right?
This is Greenpoint. Yeah.
Okay.
It's got like I said, there's Rudy's there, Gates is there, Don Jr. Yeah, and it's a
Oliver.
good, and yet it's a really good beer.
So it's got like fruity qualities to it. What's
Let
the
me try to
nose
get- yeah,
like?
It's I mean, it's got a mild hoppiness to
Okay.
it. Yeah, the fruit profile is it's nothing that pops you up and gets you in the face, but it
Sure.
has that really that classic double IPA flavor, very smooth finish.
Mhm.
You know, not the bitter hops that you associate with the single IPAs. It's
Sure.
really very good. I
Gosh.
didn't see what the doubles usually have a high ABV, but the writing on this thing is pretty small.
Mm.
I'll
Well, it
figure that
seems like
out though. Yeah,
it's the kind of thing that you would have, at Don's pool party. Clearly, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
With all the other awkward white boys. Well, all
yeah.
of
Except
those are.
I would think Don's pool party would be, they'd be having like Yingling and or that what they would do is they would because so I heard someone like Kavanaugh would be the kind of guy who would bring a cheap 6-pack to the party and drink the expensive stuff that someone else had.
Yes, that sounds about right. That makes perfect sense. Well, I mean, all of these guys come from the side of the aisle that we're not necessarily in love with, but we have had
Yeah.
our own weird white boy summer situation.
We sure
happen
have.
here in New York State with everything that's been going on with our governor. Captain, you want to catch the folks up in case for some reason they missed it?
Yeah, I mean, did you happen to? You're so busy, you probably weren't watching the speech, were you?
Oh no, I watched. I saw that he was making an announcement at 11:45, and I
Okay.
assumed it was going to. And he had his lawyer on beforehand, so I assumed it was going to be a defense. And I was like ready to eat some popcorn and watch this whole trash fire go down. So I was a little stunned.
Okay, you're
don't know
mentioning it.
about
I think everyone was. I think the entire media was stunned. Somehow he managed to write this speech, and nobody leaked what it was.
Yeah. Now he
Because
resigned,
it was
let's be clear,
fascinating
yeah.
to me. Spoiler alert: he resigned.
Yeah, right.
Within 14 days. But the crazy part about it is, I'm listening to NPR, and
Mhm.
they just cut into their broadcast with it, and then I just turn on the TV and to start watching him doing
Sure.
this, and the thing at the bottom of the screen just says Cuomo making statement.
Oh wow.
And then when it became clear that this is what the statement was, then they changed it to Cuomo resigning. That's how in the
wow.
dark everyone was about this whole thing.
That's incredible. Well, yeah,
It's
because
like
it did.
he was sort of like hinting. There's a part of the speech where first he was spent a while just defending himself,
Right.
and saying, trying to have the weird, awkward, uncomfortable mix is like, I'm sorry I did this, and this is how I remember, and this is whatever. But then he starts going on to this whole thing where he's like, and oh yeah, it's like this would just take over government at a time when people are needed, and I'm starting to think he sounds like he's resigning,
Yeah.
and he did.
And then he did. Well, and what was so interesting to me was that, like, we got a non-apology.
Yeah,
It felt like the apology that was given over the thing was an apology to his daughters for disappointing them. And while I can respect that is a discussion he's probably going to need to have with his kids, doesn't really feel like all the people who may have voted for him, or in some cases did not vote for him, like the people he represents may also need an apology for him being a bad person.
yeah.
And beyond that, of course, the women who he was like doing horrible things to. Like, there's a lot of other people that also need an apology that I feel like are not being given one here.
And it's certainly a shame we had to get here this way, but it does mean we will be having our first ever female governor in New York, which also occurred to me that because I looked it up because I was pretty sure about this. The only time we've ever had someone who's governor who is not a white man is when a white man is resigned.
Really?
Well, think about it. The other one was Elliot Spitzer. He resigned, and we had David Patterson.
Right, I remember that. Oh gosh,
and I think he was the first black mayor and the first governor and the first blind governor.
I remember that.
And this will be the first female governor.
Right. Well, I heard her speech today, and
I missed that. Yeah.
she seems ready to go. She's taking it pretty seriously, but we don't really get to call her governor for what is it, 13 more days?
Well,
as
yeah.
we're recording
When you'll
this?
be listening to it, will be just more, a little bit more than a week before this is going to happen. But yeah, he announced it's going to be 14 days at the time of this recording. Been one day, so another 5 days or so when you're hearing this. So it's it'll go by like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Kathy Hochul, who we will all have as governor very soon, seems pretty great. Seems like ready to go. But we've got a gubernatorial election coming up pretty soon, and I'll be curious to see how that continues to shake things up. Because what I'm hearing in the rumor mill is that Tish James, our illustrious attorney general who broke all of this, who many people were a little bit concerned about. I remember during the election cycle because they thought that she wouldn't be hard enough on Cuomo. She wouldn't be able to stand up to him. Ultimately winds up being one of the people who leads the charge to take him down.
Right.
But there are rumblings that she may be considering a run. And I've been watching Tish James since she was working here in the County of Kings when she was representing the arts district here
Mhm.
in sort of like Fort Greene area. And she is a true powerhouse. So
Oh, very good.
I'm very excited about Kathy, but I'd also be very excited about Tish. And I'm glad Andrew has or will soon be exiting stage right? Left?
Yes,
I don't know.
yes. And this
Center,
is
down the aisle.
and I think there are probably some people looking at it saying hypocrites because we all loved him so much a year ago. But I will
Right.
also say that is the only time I've ever had anything positive to say about him.
It's true. I mean,
It's,
I remember when
If you take away the politics and you add in a little bit more intelligence, there's a lot about his personality, the bullying nature of his personality that was not too many degrees removed from the orange guy we just got rid of.
Right. Well, I mean, it was interesting because he was actually providing leadership in March, April of 2020, where our president wasn't. So people looked at him and were like, "He seems great," and all the New Yorkers were sort of like,
We were, but I think we were, but a lot of us were still. I mean, okay, if the bully's willing to act like a
Right.
human, we
Right,
will rally
exactly.
around him. I think that's really what we
Yeah.
saw. Like because a lot of us, those of us who usually vote on the Democratic side,
Yes.
have gritted our teeth a few times when we voted for him
Mhm.
because he just seemed to be the best choice, lesser of whatever. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to the new governor.
Yes, very much so. Well, Kathy Hochul, the Beer Vengers have your back. Let us know how we can help. Also, please let us continue to ship beer in New York State because, like, that's kind of
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and if you can, with all this, the way things are going, with the new variant, maybe maybe let people do to-go cocktails again. Maybe extend that to next year.
Yeah, I think the Beer Vengers, we should put together a whole list of proposals of
Yes.
how we can increase beer venging across the state of New York.
Absolutely. I mean, granted, those of us who have been vaccinated are
Mhm.
we can go anywhere still.
That's true.
And that's still and now by the time here's something that's very timely because
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe that we are going to be releasing this. The first time people will be listening to this is
Oh.
August 16th,
Oh my
which
goodness,
is
yeah.
the day that
Mhm.
bars and restaurants and I think other maybe
Indoor
gyms, movie
entertainment
theaters,
spaces.
yeah,
Yep. So and gyms.
will
Yep.
all have to require vaccination.
Yeah.
We're not seeing. I haven't seen a whole lot as to how that will be enforced. If they're going to absolutely have to check every person every time. Like my feeling is, say, if I'm a regular somewhere, and
Right.
even a regular to the degree where they know I'm vaccinated. Once this is, I should show it to them so in case anyone asks, they have seen my proof.
Yeah.
Maybe the next time I come in, I don't have to show it again if they remember seeing it. Whatever.
Yeah.
I will show it. I'll show it whenever anyone wants me to show it.
Oh,
It
please.
sounds a little, yeah.
That's awkward. That's awkward.
Yeah,
But, you know.
that was a bad phrasing there, but you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, I know for many gyms and other like fitness type establishments, they are now asking people to basically give them proof and then they will be signed off in their system. And so either you send them a picture or you just when you come on you show them, and then as a part of your membership to that location, if I had a membership at a gym or at a fitness area place, they just sort of mark off that I'm vaccinated in their system and that's taken care of. I think where it's going to be trickier is like what you're saying, if you want to go and have a beer at the Pony Bar or something like that, who's going to be enforcing that? And I've talked with some of my friends in the restaurant industry, and people who work, in bars and restaurants, who are, I think, of two minds about this. Some are very, very excited, is what I'm hearing, because they feel like people will have a higher comfort level. Even though we are learning a lot about that vaccinated people can still carry the variant, but clearly it's not as effective, or it's not as severe for those of us with vaccines.
Right.
They're feeling that by having fully vaccinated spaces, it's going to make people a lot more comfortable to go into them, which is a great boon, especially as we start to move into the fall, where it's going to be a little bit cold to be eating outdoors or drinking outdoors. But at the same time, they're nervous about what it's going to mean to not only have to staff the ability to check this in the same way that they might check your ID at a bar. This is another thing that people have to check for. And a lot of my server friends, those at least who have gone back, are nervous just about people being dicks. Because it just feels like another thing people can be a dick about, right?
Well, it is. It goes more to, and unfortunately, I don't have a smart way to implement this in a time when understaffing is already bad. But remember when this was back, I think, in May, when the Belgian Babe and I went to a couple places that were doing some protocols, and hearing some horror stories from some of the servers about people being dicks. Yeah. About when they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't come inside," and them like all of a sudden getting really insulting towards them, and I know physically violent, but I'm sure that could happen as well. Yeah, and just suggesting that I think there needs to be a new job called vaccine bouncer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, I don't know if they have the money or if the staffing is there. So that's why I'm frustrated at how to implement it. But I think what that would be is like that all these places would have to have someone at the front door, like that you'd have like the velvet rope at a nightclub, and they would take care of all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, and bouncers, they're used to all sorts of abuse, and they're just like it's part of the job. I wouldn't want that job, but it's
respect.
But I think some kind of a buffer between the front of the restaurant and the people who are just trying to do their jobs, and who, when they signed up for that job, never signed up for the kind of abuse they've had to put up with this past year.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, in this past week, or in the past couple of weeks, I've actually, well, first off, before we get into that, I do want to know, what do you think of this arrangement? The fact that we are now going to be requiring people who want to engage with the food culture, the drinks culture, the entertainment culture of Gotham will now.
I wish we'd been doing it since June. I mean, as soon as like vaccines became widely available, I'm what took them so long is what I'm saying. Yeah. I really think that I was saying before but I think there was we were all being lulled into a false sense of security before the Delta variant really took off. That people were saying like, oh, well, we don't have to really worry about that much anymore. And like, yeah, actually, I think we do. Yep. And so, yeah, so I'm, it goes back to that old Winston Churchill quote about, you can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else.
Of course.
Something like that. I may be slightly misquoting him. But yeah, I'm glad they're doing it. I just wish they had done it sooner.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to ultimately be a good thing for anybody who's there. And it also, we've tried a lot of carrots to try and get people to be vaccinated. Yeah. And this is sort of an attempt at a stick a little bit.
One thing I do like about it is the idea that it's being much more focused on vaccine than masks. Because I always have a mask with me. I always wear it when that's the policy. I also feel, though, if we are in more vaccinated spaces, there can be a little more leeway there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not for me to decide, but if someone is wanting to give me leeway because we're all vaccinated here, I think that's a safe thing to do.
Yeah, and I think we're that may. I mean, while I think both public health measures are important, I agree that it's going to make me feel a little bit more comfortable if I go into a bar or restaurant knowing that everyone is vaccinated to be sitting there without a mask on. It just gives me that added level of comfort. even in these weird times. But speaking of groups that I think have the capacity to do this, I did a little bit of day drinking myself with our dear friends Nutpool and Wheat Lightning. And say what you will about Nutpool.
Say what you will.
But we went to Coney Island Brewery after work at our day jobs. And they had people standing right outside who were checking IDs, which is sort of part of their thing. And I could see how that would be
matching the IDs with the Excelsior Pass.
Well, they weren't checking Excelsior Pass yet.
Okay.
But they were. But their standard practice has always been: does not matter who you are, how old you are, you have to.
Well,
show
they're
an
just
ID to get in.
checking IDs like they always check for IDs.
Exactly. And
Okay.
so for them, it's going to be a pretty easy transition because they've already got a couple people out front who are always making sure that everyone's doing right. Then it will just become the game of, if you want to sit inside, you'll need to also show your Excelsior Pass or your
Sure.
vaccine card.
Yeah, that
versus
makes
if you want to
sense.
sit outside, you can kind of do whatever you want. So, but it was lovely. I want to shout out to one of my favorite bartenders there, Kelly, who is just ace always, and had a couple of very nice, had a delightful Foder Pilsner there that was just absolutely beautiful,
Oh, cool.
and a very light, very drinkable pale ale that was sort of more like a hazy pale ale.
Mhm.
They also had terrific nachos. So should you find yourself down by the beach, again, buddies at Coney Island Brewery, partially owned by our dear friends at Sam Adams, always a good time. And their more interesting beers do tend to show up at the brewery itself.
I'll keep that in mind.
But I know we've had, in the couple weeks we've been off, we've actually done a decent amount of drinking, haven't we?
We have. Well, the first one, like just a couple days after our last recording, we finally made it down to Blind Tiger again. It was really,
it was great.
and I was so happy. I'm glad you chose a Friday because it was really nice to see Susanna, our favorite bartender, there.
Yes. Oh,
No
yes.
disrespect to the other bartenders there.
No, of course.
I think I've told this story here before. There was one time I was there with the Belgian Babe, and and she was trying to get Susanna's attention because we knew her from when she worked at the Pony Bar, and
Right.
so we sometimes go there specifically to see her. And then she was apologizing to one of the other bartenders that she was giving favoritism to Susanna, and he said, no, every bartender here has those people. It's like the bartenders there are so good that they all have their own individual followings.
Yes. Most definitely. Well, I was surprised, honestly, at how busy it was. Now, partially it was because there was a birthday party happening.
Yes.
from
We
one of the
managed to
regulars.
pretty much keep the conversation going, but that was a bit of a challenge. But yeah, because
Yeah.
this was like was it like 3:00 in the afternoon or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was surprisingly early on the day.
Yeah.
Or I mean, in the drinking day. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, I remember. I think the first thing I had there was I think it was a Bell's Expedition Stout.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of their fancy stouts. When Bell's first came here a few years back and they had a big tap takeover, their Kalamazoo Stout is kind of their main regular thing, and it's pretty top of the line as well. But a lot of their Expedition is one of their best Imperials, and I'm so glad they had it there. But then I went up to this. They had these Firestone Walkers. I think they were technically called Strong Ale, but they were
Yes.
very, very darkly colored.
They were very, very, very strong.
They were as well, yes. But they were more the color and the taste of like a barrel aged barley wine stout kind of a thing. And I didn't make it through quite all of them, but I made it through enough of them that the end of it was a bit of a blur.
Yes. Well, I mean, I was going to say, you allowed me to taste along, which was delightful.
Yeah.
And they got increasingly, at least to my taste, more plummy. But of course, at that rate, I was getting drunker and drunker. So everything,
Sure.
everything gets a little bit fuzzy. And also it was good to have food there.
It was. It was nice to see that their kitchen is full service because they really have nice food. I mean, their beer is so good. I don't think of them as for their food, but they've got some great roast beef. They will have like a steakhouse sandwich thing,
Yes.
which is so good.
Yeah, pulled pork was my choice, which is always my go-to, but
Yeah.
just always really excellent. And I did notice that I think I had mentioned on a previous podcast that they have closed down streets nearby, and there was like outdoor in-street seating, and I was happy to see that at least in the past couple weeks, has continued to be a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see, it was a warm day and it was middle of the day, so it was pretty sunny, so I didn't see anyone sitting out there. But it was good to see that they at least had that option available.
Oh yeah, it's all over my neighborhood too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that was a fun adventure, and it was also
even though they took away the to-go open container stuff. Outdoor dining is not going anywhere anytime soon.
No. Well, I mean, I think that open container is officially gone, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I think the deal was that the to-go draft beer and to-go cocktails are almost because they're not sealed, that they would fit under an open container law, and that's why it was a temporary loophole. But really, I think because it's not sealed, it's the same way they like. I think there are rules against bars serving Jell-O shots. Because it's not coming out, like anything that is pre-mixed by the bar, I don't think is allowed. Yeah, I know, but which is very loosely enforced.
I know. I was going to say, because I have definitely had Jell-O shots at a bar.
I have as well, but I think I have a friend who was an owner of a bar for a while. Who they were doing it for a while, and then they had to stop because they got a ticket or something. Yeah,
I hate it when the
well, because it seems so arbitrary. Because I'm sure they crack down on some people and not on other people.
I know, it's ridiculous. But it was a lovely trip to Blind Tiger. I hope that is the first of many as we continue to sort of work out into the world.
Yeah.
And then I bounced out of town for a little bit, and you met up with some of our fellow Beer Vengers for what sounded like a great evening.
It was. If you've been following our Instagram, you may have caught the kill wall. I don't even know which ones of those beers to mention. I'll probably put them up again next week when this airs. But yeah, it was. Let's see. It was. I'm gonna leave someone's name out and feel real shitty about it, so we'll save that for Huck-Ups if I do. But it was myself. It was the Belgian Babe. It was at the residence of Huck and Cider Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Pucker was there.
Yeah.
The Globe Hopper was there, and his lovely wife. Like I said, we have to get her on the show so we can stop just calling her his wife.
We need to give her a name.
Who else?
Were there dogs? Would another one of our Belgian drinkers?
Oh, that's right. Of course, the Belgian Belgian blonde and I think now the Lager Lass, is that what we've named Carol?
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yes, yeah. She hasn't officially been on the show, but I believe Huck has named her, or they collectively named her the Lager Lass. And we had a wonderful time.
Yeah. Were there any beers that particularly stuck out for you?
See, I knew you were going to ask me that because I was trying to cram that when I looked at the wall. There's just so many, and weirdly, the ones that I remember more are the ones that I brought, because I brought this one from Revision, which I think I had one from them a while back in Nevada.
Nice.
It was called Fork 2020, and it was just some amazing heavy imperial stout thing. Finally got the. There's also a wonderful 9-pin cranberry cider that I brought there for Cider Girl, and that was nice to taste that one too. But yeah, there was so much stuff, so much wonderful stuff, and at the risk of sounding cliche, a good time was had by all.
Good. Well, I recall seeing images that were sent to me, I think by Cider Girl, so not on social media, of Mother Pucker taking a picture behind the kill wall and then basically limboing her way under the table in order to safely get out.
It was a video.
It was video, yes.
Okay, I don't think I saw that video.
Oh, I think that might have just been sent to me as a way to make me feel sad that I was not able to join you guys.
That makes sense.
We had
a good time.
Yeah, it's nice that those kinds of things are continuing, and as kind of sensitive and feeling what the Delta variant could do to our ability to socialize, I think I will be most frustrated if those more informal gatherings that have started to happen again are the things that also have to go away too. If we move back to only drinking with each other on Zoom, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, and it's funny I've gotten back into that in such a I enjoy them very much, and they don't even feel that awkward because that's the second one I had when I went to Huck and Cider Girls for, and I went to the one Hazy Ladies. And then this past weekend, I found myself hosting one,
Oh,
and suddenly had like all these incredible. Well, it was basically, it was like I had a couple of friends who were in town who
Mhm.
were staying in my guest room because
sure.
they just moved to California right before all of this happened, or just as it was happening, or too complicated to go into any further than that. But they're spending some time here and a couple of other places, but they were only in New York for the weekend. So
Okay.
they were staying in my guest room. And there were another couple of other people who they were trying to figure out a way to go somewhere. And they said, why don't you
Yeah.
guys just come over here? And then a couple other came. And before I knew it, there were 7 people in my apartment.
Oh,
And
wow.
it had that party vibe. And that's the first time I've had that in my space.
Yeah.
And I had a, I don't, in a very positive way, a very different feeling that it was unexpected. Like, wow, this is great. It's just,
Yeah.
It was, got a little emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to be around people again. It's good
Yeah.
that kind of thing is still happening. And as much as we love our bars and restaurants and things like that, sometimes it is nice to just hang out and have some drinks in someone's house.
Yeah.
But you and I did some important beer venging in my neck of the woods.
That's true.
As well. Yes. It was a 2-hitter for us that evening.
Well, 3 for me, but yeah.
Well, yes. Well, so you might as well start because I was coming
Okay,
from...
sure, yeah.
yeah.
You had a very busy schedule that day, which
Yes.
was busier even more by the time I got there based on the schedule you were going to have the following morning.
Correct.
And you had told me before about how the Randolph rooftop was so great and the
Mhm.
Time Out New York market was great. And
Yes.
but I was mainly going out there, aside from seeing you, to go to Evil Twin. They had a new stout called Nuts for Nuts that I wanted to pick up.
Mm.
And every time they have something I want to get it at the brewery.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
Now,
and-
why don't you tell the nice folks at home? Because you and I have had this discussion a few times, but like, you have a whole theory about like distribution and how that all tends to work out.
And I in no way am discouraging anyone from going to your local vendor to get it. Far from it.
Mhm. No.
But when you see a can of beer or a bottle of beer at your local establishment, your bottle shop, your grocery store, don't necessarily think that if the price is higher than you want it to be, that it's their fault. Because
true.
New York still has the 3-tier system where you'll
Mhm.
have the brewery and the middleman and then the place where you actually buy the beer. And sometimes I've seen Evil Twins beers be as much as twice by the time it goes through the 3-tier system.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so it's because I'm cheap that I that I want to make sure that when there's a new one, but the crazy thing is I did that. And the reason I figured that out is because there was one that I liked so much that I bought it later, and I saw that it had doubled in price, but it was so good I didn't care, and I got it anyway. But yeah, but this is like there will be a beer that you will see at Evil Twin Brewery for if you're buying a 4-pack, comes down to about $6 a can, and
Sure.
then by the time it gets to you, it could be 12.
Right.
It's not like it's not like some of the deals you'll see at the airport. Not quite that bad.
Not the $27 or whatever that nonsense
Yeah,
they had this week
there was.
was.
What was it? I don't remember what that beer was, but it was $27 beer. And the real mistake was that we charged you the draft price, the 20-ounce draft price instead of the bottle price, and the bottle was still 20, I think.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
This is why back when I used to travel a little bit more for work, I never drank in airports because
You see, that's the difference is if you're doing it vacation wise, you don't do it very much.
Right.
You just realize that like I would like a drink now, and part of my vacation budget is paying for expensive airport beverages.
Right. Well, I was even on a per diem, and I was still like, that's half my per diem on this beer. We're not doing that.
That makes sense. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that's why
I feel that, but yeah.
I was going out to the new Dumbo place to get this stout, and I got there early enough that I think I had asked you, what do you have time for? So let's just go to Randolph. So I decided to stop out at the Time Out New York market myself first,
Right.
and I wound up getting a very delicious Nashville hot chicken sandwich. It's kind of a sandwich from Jacob's Pickles.
Right.
I say it's
They're
kind of a
great.
sandwich because the chicken is great, the breading is great, the spices are great. It's not a sandwich. It's a knife and fork endeavor. Well, it's just like they have this like tiny little like Southern biscuit thing that they
Mhm.
say is the bread, which is that nice kind of flaky thing. but it can't stand up to this massive piece of chicken. So,
No, of course not.
But it was all very delicious. And then I met you at the Dumbo Evil Twin.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. They've continued to. I had a couple of their collaborative beers. I had a number of their IPAs, which were pretty great. I've noticed with them of late that they've been doing a lot of sour IPAs, which I assume is sort of a nod to summer, and it has been something that's been getting me a little bit more into sours. I'll be honest.
Okay.
You know. Yeah. Given that this has been my year of trying sours, I've been thankful to Evil Twin for pushing me in that direction.
Yeah, I believe I stuck to my form there. Well, because I think I hadn't had their barley wine. That's the name of their barley wine. It's called barley wine. And wow, what an impressive bit of craftsmanship there. If I were doing a blind test, I would never say this was a barley wine.
Yeah,
it's like a 13%, but so smooth and quaffable. I mean,
crushable.
You can sip it, but it's not hard to quaff it, which is how those beers get you in trouble. And then I had to have the gingerbread stout on tap.
Yes,
I hadn't had it on tap, and it was wonderful.
It is quite delicious. Now, you were there for the Nuts for Nuts. Have you had a chance to try that one yet?
I have, and I've shared it with a few people, and it's a little sweeter than I'm generally craving these days, but really well done. Yeah, it's a combination of peanuts and cashews and almonds. And I think it's the peanuts and the cashews and almonds are all like honey roasted versions of that, and then there's also like cashew crunch in there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so there's it's not like the kind of sweetness you associate with peanut butter, but it definitely has. You taste the honey for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds pretty nice. And it's I assume
13%, 13%,
wow.
or maybe 12. I think it's a 13.
Well, it was going to say between 12 and 13. I'm drinking a 12 right now. And between 12 and 13, does it really matter?
That's a really good question. I think the answer is no.
I mean, I'm sure for some purists out there that they would be offended that I said that, but once I at least in the way it affects me, I definitely never see the difference between a 12 and a 13.
Right. Now, once you, I would say 15. It's that's something else.
Well, the barley wine episode.
I realized I didn't quite get this before. I just found it out. This is an 8.3 that I'm drinking.
Oh, okay.
The White Boy Summer is an 8.3.
Well, those white boys by the pool, they need a little extra.
Well, yes. It'd be shame if their rafts tipped over.
Yes.
But yeah, and then after that, we went over to Randolph.
Yes, where disappointment was had, I'm afraid, in that the rooftop was closed. They are closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so it's only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, word to the wise, FYI. But we did have, I was impressed. They had the windows open. It was super airy. There was almost no one there, which, I guess is not ideal to keep the doors open. But I thought our bartender / server was pretty exceptional.
Oh, he was great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we continued to explore a little bit with the beer wall there, which for those of you who are longtime listeners know is my father's favorite part of going to Randolph, and certainly one of mine. And one of the things that I thought was so great was our bartender there. I was not pouring my beer particularly well. I was having their side hustle, which is one I've had on the Beer Cast, but also one of my favorite ones from them. And I just could not make the thing pour. And he took a look and actually verified that there was something a little bit up, and he went and poured me a really just beautiful, perfect pour, just a gorgeous, well done, exactly what you'd want kind of ace. I was so impressed.
And the added vilification that it wasn't your fault. It was the tank.
That was also nice, but ultimately I was just so impressed by his skill that I mean, of course, if you're not tipping 20% right now, please don't go out to bars and restaurants. But he got even a little extra as just a little thank you for being very impressive on his pouring skills.
Yeah, and you can even go above 20 if you feel like it, because it's just it goes back again. Just don't be a dick. Yep. But also, if you can go a little further, go a little further.
Yeah.
If your service seems slow, understand that might not be their fault. and don't take it out on them.
Mhm.
Be grateful
Oh,
that
yeah.
you can go out more than
Yes.
anything else.
We are fortunate to be in this time when we are still safe to be able to do that kind of thing a
Yeah.
little bit. So
And part sometimes because they're slow, might be because they're understaffed, and don't blame the person who actually is there for
yeah,
that.
exactly.
People
Exactly.
do that. People do that all the time. It's like if something is beyond someone's control, and they want to take it out on whatever face they can see. And
Yeah.
that's a classic dick move, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It sounds like a white boy summer move.
There it is. Yes, I can certainly see. Yeah, I can see. I can see this guy just making a fuss because he didn't get his
Exactly.
beer soon enough.
Yeah.
I like
Aw.
beer.
Do you? Do you like beer and calendars? Wow. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I mean, and that I feel like that is sort of, at least from my end, that's been my out in the world drinking adventures. I don't know if you've had any others that you need to mention.
That's most of it. I did head out to the beer garden the other day. I hadn't been there in a
Lovely.
little while.
How are things there?
It's still not my favorite place to be on a Saturday night, but
Fair.
they're busy. And that's sort of one of those places where I think they are understaffed. And I stayed there, had a picture with the Belgian Babe and our friends, and we took off just because it's like we rather than get frustrated at how long it was going to take to get food, we just we had a nice pitcher of beer, tipped well, but then just okay, they've got more than they can handle right now.
Yep.
But I'm glad to see that they came out of that thing last summer where they there were a lot of people who weren't following the rules and got them shut down.
Yeah, I remember that. That was sad.
So it's good to see them up and at the whole thing again. I did have something that's, I wound up going to Sunswick again, but the reason I did was because yesterday, for the first time in over a year and a half, I went to a movie.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. How was that? Tell us about it.
This is the Regal in my neighborhood. It's right near the Kaufman Astoria Studios in Astoria. And I haven't. If they start getting more movies that I want to see, I might actually buy the pass because that's an industry I don't want to go away.
Right, of course.
I want there to be movie theaters. But I for whatever reason I bought a single pass, and I was having problems with the machine. With my credit card, but I want to buy. They're currently right now still making masks optional for vaccinated people.
Okay.
Again, not asking for proof, but
right. That will happen soon.
But I did feel, even all those things aside, I felt safe because in the past I never called it that, but I've always been a social distancer with regard to movies.
Fair.
Meaning I deliberately try to choose to go times when there's not going to be many people there. Not because I was worried about the virus before, since that virus wasn't there. It was mostly because I tried to avoid assholes. And I generally find, depending on what theater you're in, if you're going to see a mass market movie, the bigger the crowd is, the more likely there will be larger asshole content.
Correct. Makes sense.
So I like to go to movies on like a Monday afternoon at 2:00, or while everyone else is watching the Super Bowl or things like that. And so this was at 3:00 on a Tuesday. I went to see the new movie Stillwater, the new Tom McCarthy directed Matt Damon movie about this. And I enjoyed it. And there were maybe 5 people in the theater, so it was like the crazy thing about it. All of it is like, I steeled myself up for it, and there were probably less people around than when I used to do this before.
Oh, okay, that tracks.
Yeah, felt very safe. Felt very good to be seeing a movie in a movie theater again.
Oh, that's exciting. Again, a little bit of normalcy coming back our way. Steps and steps.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of movies, we do have some from the world of superhero news that's coming out here, and it actually has to do with my namesake to a degree. Of course, for those of you who are comic book fans, DC especially, you may, of course, know that Robin was the boy wonder, and I am naturally the beer wonder, granted to me by the captain and Huck for my exploratory nature with beer. But
And your
the
enthusiasm.
and my
boyish
enthusiasm,
I think.
my
fits
boyish
as well.
enthusiasm, I'll take that. And today, in comic book news, Tim Drake, who was briefly known as the youngest Robin, but is also referred to as the Red Robin, has come out as queer. At least in
very
the this week's Batman Urban Legends, he was asked out by a nice boy to go on a date, and he said yes, which makes him the very first queer member of Batman's immediate family in 15 years since Batwoman. So I wanted to say cheers to the boy wonder out there from the Beer Wonder.
Well, very good. Now I'm curious. Is I don't really follow the DC comic universe or any comic universe to a great extent. Is the way that works? Is there just been a series of Robins?
Yes, there have been a couple Robins. There was a Robin that died.
Has it always been the same Batman?
That part I don't know. I'll be honest. I haven't gone that deep.
Because the only Robin I can name is Dick Grayson.
Well, yes, that's the classic.
He was the original one, yeah.
Exactly. Yes, Dick Grayson is
Drake, and he's Batman.
Yeah,
he's all right.
And there have been a few after that. I'll be honest, I don't follow along that much. This one came across my virtual desk, if you will, as I was listening to the radio this morning before, and they announced it, and I was like, oh, you know what? The Beer Vengers are having an important meeting later today. I should at least give a little shout out to our superhero brethren, who may not necessarily be fighting the good fight for beer, but are still fighting the good fight out there in the world.
Very good.
Yeah.
So that is a milestone. And I hope there are no toxic conversations going on a message board about that.
I hope not. Well, that's okay. We'll just send them all some White Boy Summer to drink, and it'll be
We will, and might put a little something else in there.
Oh boy! Don't say that too loud.
No. Yeah. No, I'm certainly not advocating poisoning toxic men as much as we would like to. But no, they're poison enough as they are. They'd probably absorb it.
That's true. They'd feed
speaking
off
of toxic masculinity in the culture,
yes.
That journey is still going on.
Okay.
Following it on.
Right.
I haven't been following all of them scrupulously on Instagram, which is where most of the conversation seems to be had. But there was a particular interesting one recently about a brewery that we like called Non Sequitur.
Yes, you mentioned this to me.
And I don't have any of the names committed to memory, but basically it had to do with the guy who runs it. Or I think there's several people who run it, but he's perhaps the main person there. And he'd had an issue with someone who worked for them years before while they were dating. And she sort of, when all these things started coming up, she said, you need to make amends with me over this. And he said, okay. But then apparently, by her standards, he was dragging his feet. And so then she made a public statement, and then he made a public statement. And they're having a lot of things where they're saying they're trying to put more standards into place. So they, by all appearances, are attempting to do the right thing. We'll like many of these things, we'll need some follow-ups for it. But
of course,
but yeah, they're having a not very good moment in all of this. And I was at the grocery store the other day, and I saw their most recent Pink Boots release, which we talked about Pink Boots. Oh, you know more about this than I do, I think, Beer Wonder.
Right.
Basically, it's a project every year, not unlike Black is Beautiful and all the other things like that.
Right. It's specifically, though, to support women brewers. And so proceeds go to training and encouraging women in the industry, which is fantastic.
But I think if they had a time machine for what was coming down the pike, they may not have named their Pink Boots selection this year. That don't impress me much. Yeah.
Choices were made, and they were less than ideal.
It happens.
So, well, speaking though of a woman in brewing who we are big fans of, the Hazy Lady, also known as Molly, has kindly invited me to be her co-host on her Brews Less Traveled podcast this month. So with her, we are exploring the town of Lexington. So if you just need more Beer Wonder in your life, you can always check out that podcast, which if you're not already, like you should be, because it's actually a really good podcast.
Yes. And you might even find out a few more clues to his secret identity.
Exactly. There's been already too much revealed. I need to dial it back.
I don't know. I have yet to determine what is too much. Since we said early on we very staunchly defend our secret identities, except when we don't.
Exactly. Sobriety tends to help ruin
Yeah.
that for us. So,
Well, that's the thing. We have secret identities, but we drink, so those kind of exist really too well together.
no.
And sometimes it's just as simple as we have a really good picture with our faces showing. He's like, well, I'm not going to deny our Beer Venturing fans, all however many hundred are out there,
I
and
know.
growing, we hope.
Great. Well, here's the thing. If our Beer Venturing fans want to contact us or send us pictures of their beautiful faces and what they're drinking, how might they do that, Captain?
Well, the most direct way would be if you're. It's weird to say that I'm using an email as an old fashioned thing because I remember when there
Yes.
wasn't email, but old school. You can email us at thebeervengers@gmail.com. We're on all the socials at @thebeervengers. Well, I don't know. How can you be on all the socials? All the ones that matter or that people
The
care about.
Instagrams, the
Instagram.
Facebooks,
And the Twitter.
and the Twitters. Yes.
We're on all of those. I think I even signed us up for LinkedIn a little while ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm
We're
not
professional
sure-
now.
I'm not sure how that works, but it was on the Podbean thing. It said here, so that's there. But I don't know how to. But the other ones are better. But
Yeah.
and if you want to listen to us, well, you know how to listen to us because you're listening to us right now. But thebeervengers.com, all the places you get your podcasts. And we're doing a little bit of retooling right now as far as we planned on eventually getting back to a weekly, but we're taking a quasi summer break. We may be back next week. We might be back in a couple weeks. And if you want regular updates as to when our episodes come out, you can when you email us, let us know to put you on the mailing list because when we have episodes, we release a newsletter every time we have a new episode. So
includes pour picks, descriptions from the captain, all sorts of good stuff.
yeah, and then you can we accept all emails because we hope we don't make us block you, but we accept all emails, be they fan letters, be they hate letters, and be they expressionist poetry.
Exactly. Just I think the lesson from this episode really is just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. I mean, see now, Beer Wonder, I'm a little conflicted because if someone is a dick and I get a chance to call them out on the show, that will make for a very memorable chunk of the show.
That's true. That will.
But you're right. We shouldn't encourage it because
We should not encourage dickish behavior.
Really, people who are determined to be a dick, they're not listening to us now anyway.
No, very true.
Is that the next? Is that going to be the title of this episode? Don't be a dick.
Well, that or White Boy Summer.
Yeah. Don't be
Either
a dick
way.
Don't be a dick in the White Boy Summer. I don't know.
There's a lot happening there.
Yes, but don't worry. You'll know by the time you're hearing it because you'll see it on the episode title. All right. Anything else we need to talk about?
I think I've covered all of my important beer venging business, and this 12%er is starting to make me feel very happy. So
Excellent. That's what the beer is here for you to make.
it's
you
very
happy.
true. Mm-hmm.
You can't be happy without beer. Oh, that's a bad message. But hopefully, anyway. I think that is it. And we will come back anytime. Not exactly sure when, but very soon. And thank you all for listening. Thank you, Beer Wonder, for being here. And,
Always a pleasure.
And now I think Huck is going to play us out.
With the beer Vengers, beer Vengers, beer Vengers.
We're the Beer Avengers.